So let's talk about the world of active shooter response, active threat response, as it relates to more of the civilian, or even, and we could get into like, it's still civilian, but like corporate communities. What's that world like, man?
So there's a lot out there. There's a lot of people out there trying to, like you said, capitalize on this, which is good. At least the word is getting out there, right?
Yeah.
At least they're teaching something. For me, because I've sat through some of these courses and I have just about every civilian and law enforcement active shooter instructor course. I have pretty much anything you can get, right? But it's interesting to me seeing a realtor or somebody that owns their own small business becoming an instructor in these things, instead of people that have actually responded to these things and know how a law enforcement is going to respond and have seen actual violence.
Mm-hmm.
They do a good job. They do what they can. And I would rather have a bunch of people out there teaching people something to do than not, right? So there are some good companies out there. There's some other companies that are just out there to get a quick buck and get out. But at least they're doing something.
Okay. So I can appreciate your positivity on that, right? But I think there's a good ways and not so good ways to deliver this kind of information.
Yes.
And so if we're kind of deciphering what, again, for the audience listening, what you might look for and how you might vet these folks. And then also, and you touched on a couple points there, like if the realtor that has a hobby, of shooting is now teaching active threat, mitigation, however we want to title the fancy title.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we look into that a little deeper. But again, how do you vet them? And then what should you expect from one of these things? Like, I mean, people's expectations, that's their responsibility. But at the same time, like what should more of the reality be there?
So going back to the standard run, hide, fight, right? That's what's been taught forever. And once again, how do you do that? What are they actually teaching? Are they teaching just run, hide, fight? Well, where do you run to? You just run to where the bad guy is? Like there's deeper meaning in each one of those. So vetting, what are they actually teaching? It's just telling you to hide and stand in a corner where the first thing the dude's going to do is open up a door and see you. Like you can position yourself. You can do different things to protect yourself other than just hiding in a corner. So how do you vet these people? I don't even know, because there's so many people out there teaching it now.
Fair enough.
That they're teaching different, they're teaching their own spin on it, right? And some of it's good, some of it's bad. Some of it I would never tell somebody to do. But I don't know. For me, I would hope that people are looking for people that have experience in it,
discerning
and have
enough,
willingness to have somebody that has their best interest at heart and not just willing to be making a buck.
I mean, I hear you. And I mean, I want that for everybody too. But I realize, again, as long as there's people out there, there's a need, and people are driven by emotions. That in their decision making is driven by emotions. I have to have this. I need to know this. This guy looks awesome because he's in full kit, and again, he's got all the fancy gear and looks great, and he talks a good game. I'll give him my $600 for the weekend, or whatever the case. We talk about that shit on the show quite frequently.
And I think, like, just looking into somebody's background before I go to a course, I have a buddy call me, hey, what do you think about this course? Well, let's do a little digging into who this person is, what they've actually done in their career, and why are they doing what they're doing. Like most companies have their YouTube stuff up there where you can see exactly what they're teaching. Okay, is this actually logical? Is it something that's going to make a difference? Or is it just the standard, hey, this is what everybody's been doing for the last 20 years, so let's just keep doing that shit. And just like tactics evolve, and if you're not willing to evolve, you die. The same is with active shooter response for civilians. Like if you're still doing the same things you were doing 15, 20 years ago, and I find this a lot in schools when I go
I'm glad you're jumping right into it. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Because a lot of the stuff that is still being taught is the same stuff that was being taught 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good info out there that is newer and updated, but because this is what we've always done, so we're going to stick with this program, is been the norm that I've seen when it comes to schools.
For example,
there's a certain company, and I don't want to start bashing other companies, but they do things and do scenarios that frankly scare the shit out of people. Or with kids, I went to a school the other day and I wanted to see what their lockdown drill was because they're looking at bringing me in to help teach some of their stuff and change things up.
Mm-hmm.
I hate going to schools and they do a lockdown drill and they have kindergartners scared to death, huddling in a corner with the lights out because their drill is they don't let anybody know what's going on. There's a better way to teach these kids. Like, we can make this almost a game, right? Like, just like we do with training in law enforcement. Let's do some drills. Let them know that it's going to be a drill and let's have some fun with it and try to get better rather than scaring the piss out of a little 12 or 10-year-old kid as you are the administrator opening the door to make sure they check it. And you see their eyes this big because now they think that somebody real is coming in. Right. So I think that there's changes that can be made within the way the schools teach it and the programs that they are offering.
Imagine that. School, particularly a public school, that doesn't understand the learning process for a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old. I'm really glad you brought that up. That's been a challenge for me as well, because I've had those conversations with drills that have been done. Again, my stepdaughter particularly, and listening to kind of her impression of what happened, how they handle it, where they go, what they do. It's a lot of, what it looks like to me is herding cats, and a lot of single file lines, and a lot of thinking that it will go down a certain way and that it won't be total chaos. And why you don't want to.
The only way you can do it.
Yeah. There's one solution here, and it's my way. And instilling the sense of confidence that when you do this, everything's going to be fine. Right.
Yes.
This isn't just about the kids. This is about the parents. The parents assuming or accepting that, oh, they're doing the drills, we're good. Like, again, they've just signed off on some bullshit that exists out there, and accepted that somebody has trained somebody that actually has some experience at this, that is actually, well, let's just call it qualified at some level to deliver information that makes sense, that's of value. Not that somebody signed off on. Again, I'm going to go back to the shit I watched from the Santa Clara County Office of Education here. That's on. I was appalled. I was like, holy God. For the record, I pulled my kid out of Santa Clara County schools. We put her in a different school, in a different district. And I have personal relationships with a lot of the officers that work in that district, during the day on those beats for a very specific reason. But my point of this being is they just accepted, oh, the training has been done and they've been taught, and so they've performed the proper things in order to keep our kids as safe as they can be. This drives me absolutely bonkers.
Yes. One of the things that drives me crazy about some of the school trainings is they're not willing to give the teachers who are in charge of these kids any autonomy on what to do, right? You have to do this. Well, what if the dude's in another building? Can I get these kids out instead of hiding them in here?
Right.
Like, give the teachers options. You're empowering them to teach your kids and be in charge of their safety. Give them other options other than just locking down.
Barricading
because that may
the door.
not be the best thing to do.